Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Yo, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How in the world are you? This is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. We're back making great content once again here on the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, coming at you live over in the Prototype Studio in Wheaton, Maryland, which is, for all y'all, where is the Prototype Studio? It is literally a hop, skip, and a jump away from Washington, D.C. So you can catch the metro train, catch the red line, maybe about, 10 or 15 minutes later, you're already on the Washington, D.C. side. And it's lovely. And speaking of lovely, it is a lovely moment to be here today with you guys, sharing great content, and just once again, sharing with you guys what I love to do in my form of creativity and my creative mediums. In this case, it is a podcast episode, a podcast forum. Me being a podcaster, it is what it is. And, today, this is going to be a good one. It really is. And I got to be honest with you. Just a short story. On Facebook, there was a thing on a Facebook page that included martial arts. I think specifically it was Tang Soo Do. And somebody actually left a little clip of my guest where she was on, television recently and being interviewed on the local news network in her area. And I was like, wow, that was really cool. And I thought that it would be a great opportunity to actually, have her here on our podcast show. I've seen her many times in competition over at a traditional martial arts tournament in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which I'll probably go into more deeply later on. And most recently, she actually came a few years ago in the Washington, D.C. area for the 60th anniversary of the Kim Studio reunion. She was there along with some people from, her school and her organization. And although, I was really trying to flag her down, next thing you know, she came and went like the wind. And I was like, darn it. And for me to have this opportunity right now, to have her on my show, like I kind of feel nervous because I feel like it's more like equivalent like to interview a A-lister Hollywood actress. And I'm just like down here. So I know for a fact, I'm like, dude, you got to get it together, man. This is 4th and 1, and you just you got to go ahead and break the plane for the touchdown. It's that go time. So I'm here to introduce my guest. She is a 6th degree black belt in the art of Tang Soo Do, which is a form of Korean karate, under Grandmaster C.S. Kim, who is the founder of the International Tang Soo Do Association, which is based out of Monroeville, Pennsylvania, which is not far from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is the chief instructor of the North Huntingdon location of the C.S. Kim Karate School. Also on the International Tang Soo Do Association, she also serves as a technical advisory. She serves on as the technical advisory committee of that International Tang Soo Do Federation, and is a multiple grand champion in various traditional martial arts tournaments. Around August of last year, August of 2024, she was involved in a horrific motorcycle accident that almost claimed her life. And the fact that she is here with us right now, I mean, that is a true blessing. That is, a testament of her, of her warrior spirit and her will. And the fact that she's here today, just as a person, not as a martial artist, but as a person, it is great to actually know that she is still with us walking, living, and breathing. And we're happy to have her. So, ladies and gentlemen, here for the one time, here on the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, and here on your interwebs, I have with me Master Elizabeth Lindsay. She is in the building, and I'm going to try to unmute her. Hey, how you doing?
Hello there. Hello, everybody who's
Tang Soo, ma'am.
Tang Soo.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm healing up pretty nicely. It's been about a year and 3 months since the wreck that I was in.
Right.
And, so I'm coming along pretty good. Little modifications every day. Every day I'm a little bit different and a little bit more healed.
Just before we go into it, I mean, I'll just say this before we talk specifically about that, because we will cover that. It just seems like, looking at everything from then until now, I mean, you're in good spirits and you're like in a good place at this moment in time with everything. It just seems like, you bounced back a little bit more stronger than you once came in.
It's funny. Even this morning, I had an appointment. There was a lot of things on my body that got totaled, if you will.
Okay.
And this morning I was at the orthodontist office because I had broken both my upper and my lower jaw and a lot of my face. And so they're handling me, and like even them, like at their office, it was so like overwhelmingly welcoming. And they're like, you're like one of the few people that like really, really follows the directions about these. I have Invisaligners, and so they're like, you're really like, you can't really tell that you've been wearing them a week and they're really clean and your teeth are really, you're ahead of everything, right? And you're one of our fast track people. And I'm like, I didn't know that, but thank you for telling me. And
right.
And going hand in hand with what you just said, it was like, there's a lot of progress, a lot of moving forward, and it caught me off guard even this morning.
Right.
Just one of my appointments in my recovery. And it kind of was like one of those moments where I was like, I don't know that I'm doing that. And they're like, well, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, what are you doing? And I'm like, whatever you just told me. So,
right. I'm just following. I'm following your directions.
Right. And then that sort of stems off of, what the next things out of everybody's mouth is like, well, it's because you're so disciplined.
Yeah. And
that is such a huge factor between like martial art life and everything else that goes on in our lives, is like, we underestimate the whole value of discipline. And it's hard to teach, even with my kids, students. Even this week I had a private lesson, new member, and she's about 7 years old. And I said, if I say, I'm going to discipline, we're going to have discipline, and she got a look on her face like, oh, I don't know if I like this. And I'm like, no, I don't mean like spanking and getting yelled at kind of discipline. What I mean is like, who's the boss of you? Who's in charge of you? And she was like, well, you are. And I'm like, no. If I was in charge of your body, I would make it do things that it would work. But I told her, I said, hey, look, you're the boss of you, and you're the one in command of you. Right. You're the one that gets to decide if you're doing things good or bad or silly or funny. Right. And she was like, oh, and I'm like, so do you want to be good at something? And she was like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, all right, well then you have to do that. And so like the discipline thing, and like you're saying, it all comes hand in hand. And I just never realized, I mean, if you're so funneled into karate land or martial art land, most everybody is being disciplined in some kind of way.
Yeah, correct.
But you sort of, again, tunnel vision. And then next thing you know, you go out of that, and now I'm in the medical world quite a bit. With as much as they've done with me, but that was something that I didn't realize was such a valuable thing that everybody could really truly grasp and learn, is like to be disciplined, and that's really what brings things along.
Right on. Well, let's go ahead and start in the beginning, or as they say, in the genesis of things. Now, I'm assuming that you were born and raised a Pennsylvanian all your life.
Yes.
Okay.
Born in Pennsylvania, farm country area, and usually when people are like, well, what got you into karate if you're in the middle of nowhere? And I was like, honestly, we didn't have cable. We didn't have like access to certain television shows or movies or anything. It was like regular, like we had 4 stations pretty much on TV.
Right on.
And we were very rambunctious, athletic kids in my household. I'm one of 4 kids in my parents' family. And we were all very athletically inclined and very playful, but at a very early age, being the youngest of the 4, at a very early age, when I had the opportunity, Kung Fu was on TV on replay
yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Kung Fu was on TV. Karate Kid was occasionally brought up and rented in our house on VHS, and we'd play that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were on TV, and so between like Karate Kid and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Kung Fu was on TV, and then of course I don't know what 3 or 4-year-old asks for the box set of Bruce Lee movies. Yeah, I know. It was definitely one of those things where, like, I look back and I'm like, I wonder if my parents still have that box set at the house where I grew up. But that's what I grew up watching. And my mom, she always says, she's like, from the minute you could like talk, she was like, you wanted to do karate. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, you wouldn't shut up about it. And I was like, wow, thanks, Mom. And she was like, yeah. So where we lived, it wasn't a very populated area. It was pretty farm town. Mm-hmm. And it's grown up since then, but it's a farm area. And about 20 miles outside of Pittsburgh, northeast of Pittsburgh. So
okay.
Growing up out there, my mom took it upon herself. You know, we had 2 times a year you were allowed to ask for something in our household. Other than that, you had to work for it. No matter what it was, you had to work for it. And so there was 2 times a year: your birthday and Christmas. Yep. My birthday's in summer, and Christmas, obviously, you know, in a few more months, you know, so I had some time in between the different asking for things. And my mom was like, yeah, you were like 3 and you were like, you know, on your like 3rd Christmas, you were like, we had these little Christmas wish books that we cut out things out of magazines and tape them down or glue them down in this little book. And she's like, yeah, you put like karate. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah. And then when you were turning 4, what do you want for your birthday, Elizabeth? And you say karate. She's like, okay. Then she's like 4.5 at Christmas. What did you want for Christmas? You wanted karate. She's like, I couldn't help it. So she's like, I started looking around like at different area locations. And she's like, I found a few. And there was this one, it was about 25 minutes away from home. It wasn't like it was close. You know, we had to trek a little bit. Right. And it was C.S. Kim Karate. Okay. And my instructor, who he has always been he's in media himself. He's a broadcaster. He's a DJ on the local radio stations in Pittsburgh. Okay. And so Master Zabo, he was Mr. Zabo. Well, actually, he wasn't even the instructor there at that time. Zach Zabo? Zach Zabo. Oh, yes. He was my, I can't say he was my first instructor, but he's my first instructor, really, truly. Oh, okay. Master John Tadero was running the school in Natrona Heights that time. And the school was open, and then I think it had closed a little bit, and then it shifted. And this was before I was even like testing or anything. I was still in private lessons. And at that time, 5-year-old kids in karate was rare. And so Master Kim, the CS Kim karate schools weren't even allowing 5-year-olds at that time. And Master Tadero, and then later at that time, Mr. Zabo, he was a red belt with 1 stripe. He was a second gup. Like, he wasn't even black belt. Yeah. And he took over that school, and they had me in private lesson only. And then it shifted. Within that first year of me training, they lowered the age from 8 being the youngest to 6. And here I was allowed to like put a uniform on. I always put like in like street clothes in private lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And it shifted. I was 6 years old and able to come into classes and put a uniform on and start ranking up. And I've got some documentation pretty much from like yellow belt onward of all kinds of stuff. And so I started at a pretty early age, 1990, 1991 in there.
Okay.
And then moved along, ranked up little bit by little bit, same as everybody else. And I was totally into it. And at that time, there was like generally like two types of kids that did karate. There was the rambunctious jock kid that kicked butt and was ready to kick some more butt.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was these nerdy, weak kids who were shy and they needed karate to learn how to be tough.
Yeah.
And I wasn't either. I was like this little girl who was athletic and wanted to be at karate. Like that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so I felt like a little like different. Like I didn't quite fit in with the rough and tough boys, and I didn't fit in with the weak guys. But and then also being like one of the only girl, little pipsqueaks in the school. I really just loved karate. I mean, my mom says it all the time. She's like, you just love karate from day one. And I was like, yeah.
I think with certain people, you just kind of know that, you can see that, that love and romance that a person has for martial arts. It's just like, it's almost like the writing is on the wall. Like, wow, this person was destined to take that martial arts road, and to see how far that person can travel on that road.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, you said that your mom actually found the C.S. Kim karate school. Was that the only school that she found, or were there other ones that she was kind of considering before
She never
that?
really told me the names, and as I got older, I kind of knew the names. But I honestly, totally, all of those schools have changed names, changed hands, changed instructors. Training has been different. I couldn't tell you what the schools were back then, but I do know that there was two different Taekwondo schools that she had looked at, and she said, I apologize in advance. This is something that my mom said, was like, those weren't real schools, is what she said.
Ooh.
And like, I thought back to that whenever, like when I was a kid, I didn't really get it. And then by the time I was like fourth, fifth grade, there was another girl in my school, and she trained at one of those Taekwondo schools. And, when you're in fourth, fifth, sixth grade, this talent show at school was like a fun time to show off what you do. And
yeah.
So I would always do karate. And one year she performed her Taekwondo, and I was so confused. I was like, wait, she just started this and she's almost a black belt. I started this when I was really little, and I'm not even close to being black belt yet, because our organization, the ITF, doesn't rank you up quickly. I mean, it's 4.5 years basically minimum, especially for youthful kids who are trying to go step by step. Mm-hmm. So I was like flabbergasted. I was like, maybe like fourth, fifth grade, something like that. And I went to my mom privately, and I was like, Mom, I don't understand how she's like almost black belt and I'm not. And I got discouraged. And she was like, Elizabeth, do you remember me telling you about the other schools in the area? Their goal is different. They train different. Mm-hmm. And, being told that when you're in fifth grade, it is what it is, and you don't really think about it. But I had really good foundation with Master Zabo, and how he used to say, you're not comparing with these other schools and these other people. You do your best. Yeah. We don't talk about rank to people outside of karate, because back then, if you talk a lot about karate, you could get beat up by somebody else, or they'd be interested in fighting you or whatever. And so it was always like a very humble orientation with how we spoke. And so when I was young, it was like, these schools are different. And being an instructor now, let's like fast way forward. I don't talk bad about other types of martial art, other styles, other schools. Like, even some people will say, well, that competitor school to you. And I'm like, no, they're not a competitor. it's like saying University of Pittsburgh versus Carnegie Mellon.
Yeah.
They're both educational sources, and the way that they structure their education might be a little different, but they have the same goals.
Yeah.
So I in general, I really appreciate the humble attitude, both of my mother and my instructor at that time, because I didn't really get it. But my mom did say, like, once upon a time, like, that's not a real school, or like, that's not, they train differently there. You need to keep in mind, like, I want you to have discipline. And it was like, because I had strict parents. So they didn't really want us to get away with anything that wasn't like type A. Like, so my mom said that she sat in and she watched classes at each of the schools, and she said that this one was more in line with how she was raising us. And she liked that it was very strict and very disciplined, and it took time and it took patience, and it was a humble attitude, and there was a lot of really structured classes, and she was totally into that. So, yeah, mom sort of made the final choice of like which location and which school and stuff. So that was kind of cool.
What was it like when you actually met C.S. Kim for like the very first time in life? Because, C.S. Kim, that's a big name in the martial arts world. That's almost as equivalent, like mentioning Mike Tomlin being the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's got, that kind of like, notoriety and fame.
Right. When you're little and you meet adults, you don't know how important they are.
Right. For sure.
I certainly knew, like, I could feel, I honestly, I'll just put it this way. The feeling of meeting him versus like the knowledge of knowing that you met him. Mm-hmm. It was like a feeling, like when he came in, it was for junior belt testing and color belt tests, and we're all like loaded up in the school. My mom, like, she was the first person there, and this was back in the early 90s, and she set up like the tripod with the over the shoulder camera with and she was like, "Oh, Elizabeth, stand here so I can white balance the camera. Come here with your uniform." And it was like, okay,
all right, go ahead, Mom.
I mean, my mom got us there early, and it was like people would start to come in, and it was like, oh, there's more people than usual. Oh, there's more people with, there's cameras, and there's like people in the waiting room, and
right.
There's like everybody's here, and it was like a big full room, and we could barely fit in there. And Master Kim, I don't remember him coming in, but I remember the feeling of him being there at the test was very like, wow, everybody is really listening. Wow, everybody is like structured with him. Wow, he's really rough. Like when he whether he was in a suit or he was in his uniform, and he would like demonstrate a move. I just remember being like, yeah, I'm gonna do it like that. Like, I mean, I don't know what 6-year-old says that, but like, I want to do it like that. Like he's doing it. I like how he's snapping. I like his like that grit. It was more of a feeling than it was like, oh, this person of notoriety and, Tang Soo Do historical value is coming in the room. Everybody pay attention. No, it wasn't like that. It was very much like, I want to do what he's doing. Obviously, he's pretty important because all these grown-ups in the room are all paying attention really hard. So I think there's something to be said about the energy in a room.
Yep.
And he had it. And it was...
He still has it.
Oh, he's very much... He's 85 years old and he's still does
What? He's 85?
Yes, sir.
God bless him. God bless him. That's
85,
awesome.
85, and he's still teaching classes. He's still teaching seminars. He'll, even in business meetings for us school owners, like he'll this week, like he'll be sitting at the table and we talking business, website stuff or ads or whatever. And then all of a sudden he'll go, okay. And he'll like stand up and he'll take his jacket off and he'll be like, okay, about last week at this one tournament, let's talk about the knee up. Let's talk about the sand. And he just starts demonstrating, like 85 years old and he's still doing that. So I still feel that same energy today as I did when I was a kid, where I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. I mean, I want to be 85 years old and stand up with full energy and snap and movement. And yeah, he puts that out there. And
I can totally understand because, with my Grandmaster, I've known him since I was like a young child. And, I'm currently like a 3rd-degree black belt in Muay Kwan style of Taekwondo, and even just seeing him do what he does and the way that he explains things, I'm literally shrinking back to like my younger self, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Even as the adult age that I am, because I'm going to be pressing 48 this year. I'm just like, wow, like I'm shrinking back to like maybe when I was like 10 years old, and I'm like still in awe. So I think that's what great martial art teachers, masters, and grandmasters, they just naturally have that ability. Like it's a superpower.
It is. It's like I said, the energy is very addicting, and it permeates you, and then it sticks with you, and then you're like, you leave and you're like, yeah, I'm ready to go teach classes now. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
I understand, like, and now I understand when people are like, especially since the rat company, how many more publications and things, and how people see me in public, people I don't even know, and they say the same thing about my energy, which is it's a big compliment. But they're like, we just don't understand how you just have so much energy, and you shouldn't. And it's like, nobody told me I shouldn't have energy. I got it. So
right.
So yeah, but he broadcasts that pretty darn well.
Pre-black belt, I mean, coming up in the ranks, I mean, what was it like for you and your training coming up? I mean, was there like a lot of challenges as you were rising up? Were there some roadblocks that were blocking your succession in the martial arts? How do you describe it?
Honestly, I didn't really have a lot of roadblocks. My mom was pretty consistent, making me get out of the swimming pool or stop playing video games. And 15 minutes, I'm going to be driving your karate class. And she literally would be outside. She'd honk the horn. The car is running and it's ready to go down the driveway. And she'd have with this big club wagon van with a sliding door. And she would honk the horn and she would, wave her hand like, come on. And in that moment in the house, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be late. And my mom would, like, at the time she said, she would slowly start driving down the driveway. long driveway. I have a memory of one day where it was like, I was sprinting next to the van, throwing my bag into the car because my mom was like, she's like, no, we're going to keep going. You got to get in the van. It was, I look at it now, I'm like, that was probably dangerous. But you know what? We were, farm kids on all kinds of stuff, all kinds of equipment and things. So honestly, when I was a kid, the roadblocks were mostly just, I was a energetic kid who played video games, watched movies, was in the swimming pool, and like everybody, I want to say like everybody, but you get distractions and you need to refocus. So growing up, that was like my hardest, I guess, downfall was like the normal stuff. But as I got to middle school, and I have this recollection of the first week of gym. Now, I went to an elementary school that had like 7 people in its grade. I had 7 people in my elementary school grade. And then when I went to junior high, all the schools kind of blend together, and we had like over 100 kids in our grade. And gym class is like, it's someplace I can go play and be energized. And I remember the 2 gym teachers, the male gym teacher and the female gym teacher, got everybody sprawled across the wall in the gym. And they said, okay, everybody tell us which sports you all do. And I will never forget this. And it's sort of this is a roadblock. This is a mental roadblock. I'm like 12 years old. And I'm black belt now. I just gotten black belt when I was 11, and I was, feeling pretty pumped about that and feeling pretty good about it. And here we are standing in gym class, and these kids are all saying basketball, football, soccer, softball, volleyball, cheerleading, like they were going through and they got to me and I said, karate. And the room got quiet, and I was like, why are they like this? And one of the most popular kids in the grade, athlete, big kid, big guy, he goes, karate's not a sport. It's not in the Olympics. You can't play that as a sport. You can't letter in that in high school. And I honestly, like, that was more of a roadblock to me, because it was like, wait, then what am I doing? It's not a sport? Well, I guess it's not a sport. And it's like, literally in that moment, I was like, whoa, what is it? And I grew up with, like, you know, from junior high into high school, that thought in my mind. And then there was, like, you know, I started with these 5 boys who were all about the same age as me. And by the time we got to, like, sophomore year of high school, only 1 or 2 of us were left. And I mean, of, like, you know, 100+ students at the karate school, how many had come and gone in that time? A lot. Mm-hmm. And the people who you trained with, who you started with, you look to them for togetherness and movement forward and progress, and they weren't there anymore. And, you know, by the time I was in high school, it was running track, playing, you know, soccer, playing, you know, softball. I was, you know, doing a part-time job. I was learning how to drive a car. I was learning how to fly an airplane. I was like, I had all these things on my plate, plus doing volunteer time, National Honor Society stuff. Like, I wasn't a slouch. And karate got pushed by the wayside. And I will tell you that, like, that mental roadblock that happened in junior high sort of trickled into it's not a real activity. It's not a real physical sport.
Right.
It's not something that you can move ahead with in your life. You can't letter, you can't go to college with it. It was like, you know, it was one of those, like, things where I was like, oh, so what is it then? It's just playtime? Like, I didn't really understand it at that time. And now that I am in the position I'm in today, it is so much easier to talk about it, because how many senior citizens do you know who play football?
Right.
How many senior citizens do you know do martial art?
Right.
Mind blowing. There's a ton of them who do martial art, because it's a whole body exercise. And it doesn't mean that, like, oh, we have an age limit or age bracket, or it's competitive in like a team atmosphere sort of thing. It was like, oh, anybody can do this, and they can do it for their whole entire lifetime. Case in point, Master Kim is 85 years old, and he's still doing it, and he's still quite good at it. My goodness. Mm-hmm. So it's like, this is a gift of a longevity of, like, an activity that is wholesomely mind, body, and spirit. And it has nothing to do with being a sport. It has nothing to do with lettering. It has nothing to do with college and paying for you to get a scholarship, or you make it to a professional league. Because after that, stuff sort of just dies off. And people get out of shape and lose their will to do something.
Yeah.
Whereas in martial art, it's sort of like, no, this is the one. This is the thing that can keep going for your entire lifetime. And there's always something to work on.
Yeah.
So if you're asking me, like, hey, what was a roadblock of yours growing up? That, having somebody say, this isn't a real sport. You know what? You're right. It's not. It's a real lifetime activity. That's what it is.
I would say, like, yeah, you're right. It isn't a sport. It's a way of life. You know, and for, you know, how many people can actually, let's say, for example, if your aspiration is to make it into the NFL and be a professional football player, well, how many seasons in your entire career do you think that you'll play? You know, whereas in the martial arts, I'm going to have an infinite amount more of, you know, seasons in my lifetime to be a martial artist.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you think about it, the numbers play very well in the world of martial arts.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, right on. That being said, when you found out that you were going to be testing for your first degree black belt, number one, what were your reactions when you got that notice? How did you prepare and train for it? And what was it like on that, what we call D-Day, you know, on that day when you were testing for the big one?
Well, I know now different organizations run things differently. We don't get notified. Like we have a step-by-step curriculum in our organization where like you could actually project for yourself, even like seeing the curriculum, seeing it for each rank, you know what's expected at each rank, and either you reach that expectation or you don't.
Right.
So what was kind of nice was like being a kid, it was like, okay, in 6 months, this is what's expected. Get that taken care of.
Right.
And, you know, there would be magically more people would start attending class the closer to test. Or, you know, magically people start trying harder. People would start asking more questions. So realistically, it was very well guided. So it wasn't out of the ordinary, and it wasn't unexpected. It was par for the course. Like, this is the next step.
Right.
And I can look back on that today with things that have happened with me where it's like, no, this is where you are. That's where you were. That's what rank you were. That's what you did back then. This is where you are now. And that up there, that is what you need to be looking for and aspiring to do. So there's your goal. And I see that now today with myself. I'm like, that's a good discipline too. Of just like, here are the steps. And either you put one foot in front of the other and you're good to go, or you stand in one spot and guess what? You get run over, or you sprint and fall and trip and tangle up your feet and fall on your face. And then you get up and you take your time.
Right on.
So, there's a lot to be said about the steps of our organization and the curriculum. So I really didn't really, it wasn't a surprise. And I was ready when it was time for testing.
Did you know, like, when it was that day for your first degree black belt test, did you know, like, did you walk in there feeling like, this is mine and I know this is mine?
Gosh,
and I'm going to get it.
If I think back to the day of testing, it was like, there was like probably over like 90 people testing that day for black belt.
What?
Yeah. I mean, the 90s in our organization were no joke. So like we have the ID number. A lot of people call it the DON number, the black belt number.
Yeah.
Ours has like two parts to the number. There's a classing, which is like the first number. And then like I'm class 32. Really at that time we had started the classing two tests before mine. So I'm like the second DON class group. And then the last three digits was like, of that classing, which person were you? So for example, I'm 77. And there are other people that have higher numbers than mine. So I know that there was more than 77 of us in that room testing that day. And it was at our headquarters school in Monroeville. And I just remember I was really petite as a kid. And I just remember the test group being so big and everybody else being so tall that I like couldn't see the head table when we got warmed up. And I'm like, there's my instructor's foot up there. Like I couldn't quite like see ahead because there were so many people in the room.
Right.
I just remember being like, these are a lot of people. And then they separated us into groups, like 4 or 5 groups of like 20 or 25. And then they lined you up short in the front to tall being in the back of your group. At that point, I am front and center, right in front of Pastor Kim and the judges, because it was like, well, here we are. I'm the shortest person in the room.
Right.
So, you know, it was more of like, at that point, it had nothing to do with like feeling ill prepared for the test, but like there were things where I was like, am I going to remember it the way it was taught? I wasn't very good at that time at memorizing things, but I was good at learning things. And so whenever it was like time for terminology, like the question answer part of the test, I was like, I'm not going to remember stuff that was told to me to memorize. And so I had a really hard time with like the questions. And I had a hard time with the self-defense to grabbing. Like there was certain, like you needed to do this exact combination. And I was good at like each type of grab had like 4 defensives that they were like, you need to do this, this, and this. demonstrate it.
Kind of like one-step sparring in a sense.
Yeah, like one-step sparring, but for grabs. Like, so
Okay.
you get grabbed by your sleeve or your wrist or your arm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, that also, it was like the memorization part of like that was hard for me. So there were times where I felt like a little weaker at that and a little weak at the question answer part of the test. Now most people are like, Master Lindsay, that's like your best part of your exams. You're always, and I'm like, hey, listen, just because you make mistakes at something or you fail at something, it doesn't mean that you're horrible at it. It just is a thing that is now noticed. And then I gave it a lot more care and love and attention. And so now I'm more well-rounded today. But that was something at that age. Like I said, I was only 11. And I just remember the terminology, the question answer part of the test being a huge nerve-wracking part because I didn't know what they were going to ask. And it was like, I remember standing there and they were like, what is, the 10 articles of faith, what is number 7? And I was like, I don't know. And it was like, I do know it, having confidence and faith between teacher and student. It was like, well, I know that now.
Right.
But like, at that time, if somebody asked me what's number 7, I'd be like, I don't know. Like I blanked out. I could list them off one at a time, but that was the stress of my life at that age. It was like, oh no. But
wow.
That's what I remember the most about testing. And then I remember the demonstrations at the end of testing where the masters, which there wasn't a ton of them at that time in the 90s, the masters would get up and do a demonstration of what could have been better at your test.
Right.
Or how you should have done it. And I just remember being like, goes right back to me as a little kid and seeing Master Kim at my test where it was like, yeah, that, I want to do that. And if you're familiar with, I'm going to shoot some names out there, but Master Joe Goss Jr. and Master Ko Beam.
Yeah, I know Joe Goss Jr. and his dad, Joe Goss Sr.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very talented men. And so Master Ko Beam and Master Joe Goss Jr., they were very young masters at that time. Master Joe Goss Jr. was the first junior master in our organization.
Wow.
And I just remember the two of them demonstrating sparring. And they were jumping and leaping and jump back 360 hook kicks and jump inside outside kick and jump back kick. And I just remember being like, oh yeah, I want to do that. That's what I want to do. Mm-hmm. And it goes right back to me being a little kid watching Master Kim for the first time in a suit.
Nice. Nice.
I just fell in love with that.
Being that you've been training in Tang Soo Do for many years, obviously, you must have had some direct instruction under Grandmaster C.S. Kim. And I'm just wondering, what is it like to actually, learn from the man directly himself?
Yes, absolutely. Literally every week. At this point, he knows what he expects out of us. He knows what we expect of ourselves. The expectation being held up, that's fine. But training like physically with him, he is he's very foundation oriented stances. Very much focuses on the importance of having a good stance. He focuses tremendously on trying hard and doing your best. He is particular about doing things again if it's not good enough. Right. And to continue doing that and to do it with a good attitude. And again, that goes right back to that wonderful thing that my mom saw in C.S. Kim karate back then, which was like, there's that discipline I'm trying to teach my daughter. Yeah. So working with Master Kim, he is very, obviously in his 80s now, he's not like fighting and sparring with everybody, but he's still out there breaking boards and stuff, like showing people like, no, this is how you should be doing it. This is how, so he is very eager and very well-spoken at this is what we did in Korea. This is how we should practice. details can be minutely changed here and there, or like little things or little variation. Forms don't really change that much at all.
Right.
He is such a foundation of like, no, this is how it was taught to me. I'm doing my best to keep it. Now you all don't mess it up.
Right.
So he is very foundational in that way of what was taught to him. He tries to keep. And again, he really, it's all about attitude, etiquette, stance, and do it again and have that good attitude during all of that.
Yep.
So when people are like around him for the first time, they're like, how is it that you just knew that he was going to say or do that? And I'm like, if you're around him enough, you know, you're going to do it again. You know that you need to know it before you show up. Like, don't just show up and like, oh, he'll just teach me. No. What material you should know that before you get there so that he can make it better. He is such an influence in that way. And it's pretty admirable.
Nice. Let's talk about the fact that you competed in a lot of tournaments, and you, by that, for ladies and gentlemen, because I know that I have some martial artists that do listen to my podcast. We're not talking about NASCA here. We're not talking about that. We're talking about traditional martial art tournaments, and you've competed in a lot of them in your lifetime, I do believe. Like, I know for a fact that obviously you competed, the house tournament that always happens in like April, May in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I think I don't know if you had competed in other ones, like way back in the day, there was the S. Henry Cho in New York City.
Absolutely. Yes.
The Tang Soo Do tournament in Hanover, Pennsylvania.
I've kind of been all around at this point. The funny part about the rec I was in is that some of my stuff that was on the foreground of my mind is a little fuzzier. So now I'm like, what was the name of that tournament? And there's an ongoing joke, by the way. The reason you don't remember that, is it because you're 40 years old and you're getting older now? Or is it because you were in that wreck where your brain was, a little rattled? And I'm like, you know what? You're a jerk, but okay.
Wow.
I know. But no. I went to a lot of tournaments, a few in Ohio, a few in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, South Carolina. So a lot of East Coast where these traditional martial art tournaments, not these newer ones that are sport oriented,
right?
Like these traditional.
Yep.
I don't want to say first generation tournaments, but like kind of like the first gen style tournaments of the United States.
Yeah, like the OG. Yeah,
like the OG style. Like, we're going to do forms, you're going to do sparring, and then later the whole breaking and weapons thing came into play, and then teams and everything. But a lot of focus on forms and sparring. And so I very heavily competed in forms and sparring because I liked the prestige that went with those things.
Right.
A lot of different tournaments. And Master Kim would say, meet at the karate school at 4 a.m. You're going to get in the car and we're going to go. And it was like, yes, sir. And he would take me and I would go to these different tournaments. So yeah, I've been around.
And like what in terms of, because I know that you have been you have earned grand championships in many of these tournaments, but which one do you feel like out of the divisions between forms and sparring, which one do you think that you earned a lot of grand championships the most in?
Obviously you can't win board breaking grand champion.
I wish.
Smash stuff and win. I never really took to the board breaking. I mean, I break stuff just fine. People were always like, you're so petite. How did you just do that? And I'm like, well, technique will take you a long way.
Yeah, right.
But I've won grand champion in weapons, forms, sparring, team forms, and team sparring. Those are the things that I have, those accolades, and coaching, team form, coaching, team sparring. Those are also things under my belt, if you will. But I think the most wins I have had in championships was solo form.
Okay.
I'm individually performing Hyung form. And I honestly couldn't tell you how many times, but why I think that particular thing ends up being such a huge focus is that it's just you. Like say you go to break boards.
Yep.
Well, sometimes the boards are a little bit different. Sometimes the holders are a little bit different. Sometimes, with weapon form, there's not enough space because you use a staff, and oh boy, I'm going to get too close. So you have to readjust in the middle of your form so you stay in the ring or don't hit a judge, for goodness sake. Mm-hmm. With sparring, you have 4 judges. That's 4 points of view. And then you have a referee. Yeah. So you have 5 different points of view. And then on top of that, you've got this other thing that you need to worry about. There's 6 different things you have to worry about in order to project what it is that you just did. Say you punch somebody in the chest. Okay, out of those 6 people, which one of these is going to help me see if I got that point?
Right.
So I feel like those are factors that you may be the best at sparring. You may be doing really stinking good, and maybe they just don't see it. Or maybe that person that you spar, they got hit and they're really good at pretending like they didn't. And then it's like, wow, I really had a really good hit and none of them saw it. So there's so many factors with sparring that it's like, ooh, okay. So what I do with sparring in my mind is like, you do your best, have fun, be creative, be playful, play the game. It's a game of tag and you're both it. Mm. So it's like, play the game, be visible. I even get to the point now where it's like I maneuver where I'm like, okay, can the judges see what I'm about to do? It's a different attitude. Now, why I think forms more than the other things, all those factors, it's narrowed down to one. It's just you. Yep. You do form, it is just you. You know how much space you take up. You've had time on that floor that day. You know what the floor feels like. You have prepared or not prepared yourself physically, mentally, endurance-wise, snap-wise, technique-wise, all that. It's you. So when people are like, man, you win a lot at forms, and I'm like, I should, because it's just me. I don't need to worry about what's that competitor doing? What's that judge see over there? What's that referee doing over here? Like, right. I don't need to worry about like how thick or how wet are those boards I'm about to just break, because you get some sappy boards, those.
Yeah.
Right? So I just look at it like there's less factors. It's just you. And the only thing I can control is myself anyways. I can't control the judges. Right. I can't control the other competitor. I can't control the boards. So for my own mental sake, it's like, no, you're going to get out there and you're going to do whatever best you have to give in that moment. So,
I'm sorry, go ahead. I cut you off.
I just was going to say, so I just prepare myself in that way where it's like, I'm going to do the best. I always say, give 100%. And people are like, oh, I can't give 100%. I'm like, actually, we can. You might only have 40% today. Do 100% of that 40%.
Right. I get that. How do you, when it comes to tournaments, what do you think works for you in order to prepare for a tournament? Because a lot of people have different philosophies, or they have, different ingredients where they feel this is their formula of their secret sauce of success when it comes to being prepared for tournament competition and, eventually possibly winning the grand championship. So what worked for you? What did you do to prepare?
I stopped comparing myself to other people.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is so
you compared yourself?
It's like, it's literally what we're doing. We're comparing, like you're competing with and comparing yourself with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, I never won champion until, I was always trying to, I'm going to throw her name out there. Her name was Olivia Sun.
Yeah. I know Olivia's son. Yeah. God rest her soul.
So good. And it was like, no matter which tournament we went to, it was like, yeah, here she is. I got to try to outdo her. I got to try to do better than her. I got to try to, and I would compare. I spent too much time comparing. And then eventually what happened was around, I think it was like 2011, I stopped doing that. I was like, well, if the judges keep selecting her, forget about her for a second. All right, Liz, how about you take a video of what you did and try to make it better than last time? Just worry about you. And I stopped worrying about what she was doing. And then we went to this one competition, and I'm going to shout out another name here. Her name at that time was Bree Berkebile. She was one of Master Goss's students. She was very good, very good. And one time we were at this one tournament, and it was myself, Bree, and Olivia all in the same division. And I was like, man, I don't know how this will turn out. But, I was willing to try thinking hard and see what happened.
Yeah.
And Bree took first, I took second, and Olivia took third. And I had never even seen Olivia take second. And it was a different mindset altogether, because I looked at Olivia or at Bree, and I was like, I've been trying to challenge myself to do my best. Can you help me today and just like push yourself really hard? And she's like, yeah, sure. Yes, ma'am. I can do that. And we both just went out there and did our thing. And I was super proud of her. Bree ended up winning grand champion at that event as well.
Nice.
Yeah. So it was almost like whichever one of us ladies comes out on top, we're going to bring it to the men in the finals. And
yeah,
she did fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But that would be my thing, is like the day I stopped trying to compare with everybody else, the day I stopped comparing with a certain individual or another individual at a tournament, like, oh, she's the one I got to beat, or she's the one I got to beat. As soon as I stopped doing that, it turned over. And I won at a tournament in South Carolina, in Charleston. And there was some really stiff competition there. And there was only two grand champions at that event: men's sparring and overall forms.
Wow.
Yeah, rare to like not have like a women champion sparring.
That's almost like the Henry Cho tournament in New York, because they only had one grand champion for men's in men's sparring, and then whoever, man or woman that won the grand champion in forms, that was your grand champion.
Yes. So it was very much like that tournament. And that tournament was such a weird success for myself, because I had already gotten it out of my head, like the whole, like, you're not going to be grand champion. How about just work on you? And that was the first tournament I took first place in sparring as an adult in women's. And I sparred a lot of women that day too. I think it was like four women at that event, which is, quite a bit, with the women's divisions at that time.
Right.
2011. And then I did finals for forms against somebody from, I think they were from the Young Brothers.
Young Brothers Taekwondo?
Yes. And
okay.
It was, I don't remember who it was, but very, very clear, very sharp young, very good form. And yeah, and then I got called at the end of the day. I was not expecting it. I was just like, yeah, he won. That'll be that. And I'll go back to the karate school and keep working hard at myself and progress from there. And like I said, like when I stopped trying to compare with everybody else, that's when it happened.
Wow.
Compare to myself, for myself. And that changed things.
Speaking of changing things, I want to go back to that time last year in August in 2024, which, everybody in the community said that was like the incident that changed your course of life forever, when you got into an accident involving yourself being on a motorcycle and so forth. For those that don't know specifically what had happened, and if you want to explain it, and you don't have to explain it in a lot of detail if you don't want to, but
yeah, I can give you the cut and dry. I love motorcycling. I have several motorcycles. I'm not a city rider. I'm not a tricker. I don't play with the bike. I maintain the bike myself and everything. But what I enjoy the most is riding through the Appalachians and finding some roadside attractions, some hiking trail, whatever. And so basically what I had done that day was, I went for 3, 4, 5 hour ride somewhere. I don't remember, somewhere in the Appalachians. Was on my one bike, and I was riding with one of my Vietnamese friends. And he's also a practitioner. I'll leave his name out. He always says, just leave me out of it. So,
okay.
I'll respect that about him. But he was on another motorcycle, and we were riding with somebody else. We did that ride through the mountains, and then we came back. And then I was like, hey, you hungry? Do you want to go downtown Pittsburgh and get something to eat? He said, sure. So he went to his house, put on nighttime warmth gear at that time, go at nighttime, and I was like, a little bit more gear. And I switched and got on my other motorcycle. I don't like riding longer trips, but it's a beautiful bike that I spent a lot of time on, making it very me personality. That was such a cool bike.
Right.
It's a sport bike, but it is they call them a naked cafe sort of race, but I shouldn't say race bike. It doesn't race it, and it's not a sport bike. It's just a beautiful bike that is very upright and very, and I ride athletically. I love going through, secondary roads, twisties and stuff. I'm not a person that goes down the highway going 130. That's not for me. So we're very safe riders, very, very, cognitively looking for dangers always. So we went to Pittsburgh, went downtown, got something to eat, went up to Mount Washington to overlook the city. I don't have recollection of that. But I do have some bits and pieces of remembering just the ride coming home. We were done for the day. We just were going to eat and saw the sunset over the city. And then it was, okay, let's go home. We're just going home. The ride is about 35, 40 minutes from Pittsburgh to our town. And so we were riding home, going the speed limit, minding our own business. And as we're going down a 4-lane road, a SUV, which was in a parking lot of a business, just pulled in front of us. And we had it's fun to have friends that are engineers, but they also bring up some uncomfortable facts. They reviewed, there was some security camera videos of the wreck, and when they had gotten their hands on some of them, they said, I calculated how much time you had to react. You had less than 1 second to react. And the other rider had just barely over 1 second to react. What I can say very resolutely is that I'm very proud of our background and our reactive connection. It wouldn't have mattered what I did. It wouldn't have changed my outcome. But behind me, he was riding behind on his bike. He had enough time to react slightly. And the crazier part is that one of them goes, you had less than 1 second to react, but on the video, you actually hit your brakes and turned your head. You had enough time to react. And all I could think was, dang, thanks, karate, for at least building that reactive, I'm going to do something. I'm not going to choose nothing.
Right.
But the other rider, he had time to interact with what had happened. He missed my bike. My body was going with the vehicle, actually, at that point, because hitting so hard into that side of the vehicle, I went head first and went with the vehicle. My bike kind of just fell right to the side. So if you have the unfortunate I don't want to say advantage. If you had the unfortunate experience of watching the security camera video, people were always like, "Oh, I saw you fly off the bike," and I'm like, "That wasn't me. I went with the car, and you can't even see me because it was that hard of a hit. It went 43 miles an hour to 0 with my head." So, my other rider buddy, fantastic that he missed the bike, but he clipped the tail end of the car, and it broke his arm, and he got launched quite a bit of space ahead. And so, it is difficult for a lot of people in our lives that, I hate motorcycles. That's what you guys are just this, that was your rah, rah, rah. And they get kind of emotionally exhibiting emotional feelings about it. Mm-hmm. The facts are, it wouldn't have mattered if I was even driving in my truck and that car pulled out that way. Then maybe if I was driving my truck, maybe I would have killed him. And I think about that where I'm like, wow, 9 out of 10 people in my position would have died instantaneously. Yeah. And facts being brought out, I did die. I died on scene and they resuscitated me. But the EMS crew was on scene within 4 minutes. And I was resuscitated and brought to the trauma hospital, which was actually in Monroeville too. And that was, I was in the emergency room within 19 minutes.
Wow. So
when we talk about like these incredible things that are going on with me and my body, I go back to, well, hang on a darn minute. Like the fact that the first person to my body that was not EMS happens to work at a hospice care home and has background in being around people who, might need care. Mm-hmm. She was the first one to our bodies. And she was like, your friend, he needed to not play with his helmet. He needed to sit there. He needed to keep his arm up. And we were going to handle that. Went to the driver. They were in shock. I went to you. You were gone. And then all of a sudden you bubbly breathed, gasped air. And she was like, yep, they're going to live. And she said, and having spent some time to show my gratitude with her, I learned quite a bit about that night through her experience. And I just think, wow, what are the chances of her being there? And she's also a motorcycle rider, which was like, she wasn't on a motorcycle, but she was, she had all sorts of feelings and empathy and experience that made that situation better. EMS being right around the corner, just happened to be there. And it was incredible. And then, of course, everybody has the whole like, well, the medical community is like, if you hadn't been doing whatever you were doing before this wreck is what saved your life.
Right.
And so that sort of ties in the martial art land people. Yeah.
What were the specific injuries that you suffered from that accident?
Oh my gosh.
I know there's it is a long list.
Yeah. So I'll give the basics of it.
Sure. Sure.
So my entire face was shattered. Eye socket, nose, upper jaw, lower jaw, ear, all of this was shattered. I broke my neck, broke my back in about 8 places, broke 6 ribs, broke both of my forearms, broke my elbow, and I had some internal bleeding. So several organs were bleeding, and then I broke my foot in 5 places.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a lot. And the brain trauma in itself, I feel this always hits people a little bit emotionally, myself included, but having said it enough times, it's not as bad for me. But one of my neurosurgeons, I didn't have to have brain surgery, but one of the neurosurgeons in the ICU, I met up with her, and she had some things to say. And she was like, 9 out of 10 people would have died in that wreck. And I'm like, right. And she goes, and technically you did, but you're one of that 10% that might have lived. I'm gonna go over some numbers. I've had some time to think about it. And she went through these numbers. She was like calculating the best chance of me being the way that I am today. Mm-hmm. She goes, 9 out of 10 would have died. Of that, the amount of surgeries you had right away, a percentage wouldn't have made it through those surgeries. About, 1 in 5 people would have made it through those surgeries. And then she goes through the next thing. She's like, and then, the brain bleeds and things. We didn't expect your brain wave activity to spike and be normal again, but it started to activate again. So the chances of that. And then she's like, well, also then, you were on opioid drugs for a very long time, heavy ones for all the pain and everything. Mm-hmm. We expected you to be addicted. So, and then you weren't. So we're going to bring that percentage up. We're getting under about 1% at this point. And then she's like, she shakes her head and she looks at me. She just goes, you're just an anomaly because you got to keep all of your limbs too. And she just shook her head. She just goes, and the fact that you're able to do all the stuff and cognitively still have your memories and your personality. And she shook her head at me and she just goes, crunch some numbers. 0.0001% would have been your best chance at this ever happening again, the way you are today. Wow. And I shook my head. I was like, whoa. She had some time to think about this. And it really was, it was a heck of a wreck. And really, I don't use certain words anymore. I don't use the word coincidence and I don't use the word impossible anymore. I mean, about the EMS or about the woman who came to our bodies first at the wreck. Like, that's not a coincidence. It's a connection. And when I say, oh, that's impossible, I have to reel it back in. I'm like, I can't say impossible anymore because here I am. And that's pretty darn impossible. So here it is. And it did happen. So now I don't say things like, I don't say, oh, that's a coincidence. I say, no, that's a connection right there. That was supposed to connect. And then when it comes to things that are darn near impossible, I say, that was not probable, but it happened. I can't say impossible anymore. I can't say coincidence anymore. So those are 2 words I've had to change a little bit.
Would you say that maybe if it wasn't a coincidence, would you say that maybe it was divine intervention?
And that's where people are like, well, what would you call that? And I'm like, well, a lot of people call it a miracle. A lot of them say, like you just said, where it's like, do you think that this was God saying? And I was like, well, if God wanted me to be here, y'all got to deal with this silly personality that's still a Ninja Turtle growing up. So you all got to deal with me and all of my silly bantering and my jokes and my poor, I just come up with silly things and I just tell that to my family and friends all the time. I'm like, yep, if I'm still supposed to be here, just remember, I'm supposed to bring all the weird that I am. So.
Right on. Wow. Did you at any point, knowing that, this happened and hearing that, statistically speaking, it wasn't looking good. Did you subconsciously think that, maybe, this is probably going to be the end of the road, that this is it? I did pretty much all that I could in my lifetime and, it's now come to that halt and I just may not have another opportunity.
I got to interrupt you because no, I didn't.
Okay.
There was only one point where it was sort of I thought everybody else was thinking that. And I was, at that point, I was already out of the ICU, out of the PCU. I was at a rehabilitation hospital. Mm-hmm. And while I was there, my dad made an arrangement for my lawyers to come and talk about things, future things. And I didn't really fully get a grasp on everything. Like I said, being heavily drugged at that time, it was hard to get my focus to be a certain way. But I always no, I was still me. I was still pushing forward. But there was a moment where there was a discussion about being legally handicapped. Mm. And I was like, oh, and keep in mind, I'm sitting there and I'm still very much wounded. still not eating food, still having food through a tube and everything like that. Like, I mean, I'm still a wreck. And they're talking about this handicap thing and how it works legally and what you could do, what you can't do, and how it would like project in the future, and like the passes that you would have, or, you know, stipends you would have through the government, and so on and so on. And I was like, I gotta interrupt you. Can I please stop? Can you stop a second? I have a question. Does that mean that like I can't own my karate school anymore? Like I got a question. Like, can I still own my karate school? Like, how's that work? And they're like, well, funny you say. You could be a business owner, but you can't be doing karate. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you can't be really like doing karate again. If you are legally handicapped, like, and you get to a point of health where you could start doing karate again, if you needed to keep your handicap, you know, certification, if you will, you can't be doing karate in public ever again. No teaching classes, no nothing. And I was like, you know what? You could just take the handicap thing and just throw it away. I'm done.
Wow.
And I want to like, okay, now I need you to like picture what it would look like. So I'm like in a wheelchair. I got a boot on my left foot. I got 2 arms and 2 braces. I got this neck brace on, a back brace on.
Yeah.
And I'm telling them like, nope, I'm still going to do karate. Like,
wow.
I think about that from time to time, where it's like, people are like, well, did you think you weren't going to move forward? I'm like, no, I was going to move forward whether you all liked it or not.
Okay.
And, you know, were there times where, okay, realism kicked in? Yeah, there was times where I'm like, am I ever going to be able to do this again? Am I ever going to be able to do that again? Well, let's find out. Let me try to get to the point where we can see if I can or cannot do it again. So it was more of just trial and error until I see what I can and can't do.
When people go through that type of accident or similar accident, they usually say that people at that point would need to have some hardware installed and to have that hardware in their bodies for the rest of their life. You know, think Wolverine of the X-Men. You know what I mean? So did you have any
ongoing jokes about that? Yes.
Did you have any hardware installed?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So in my face, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plates in my face.
Okay.
And they're permanent.
Okay.
In my forearms, on my radius of both arms, there's plates, longer ones, on the thumb side of my forearms. We're on podcast, so I'm going to make sure I'm telling you. Yeah, thumb side on both arms has plates. My elbow has a plate. And those are permanent as well, right, unless something else happens. But funny thing about these implants is that there was more of them. There was a very long piece in my forearm of my right arm, and there were 2 plates in my foot, and they were removed. And people were like, well, why? Were they wrong, or like what happened? And I said, funny story. The medical staff said, it doesn't happen very often, but sometimes the body is healthy enough that it says, yeah, we don't need these anymore. And they start to grow out. So like there's screws like down into your bone that is holding the plate to your bone. And imagine like your calcium of your body is growing where the screw is, and it unscrews the screw.
Wow.
Yes. And that was happening in multiple, like in my arm and my foot. And so they removed plates in my arm and in my foot. So the plates in my foot were coming out, and the plate in my arm came out. And one of the other procedures of like needing things in my body was they actually cut a piece of my bone in my hip and used it to replace the bone that was missing in my forearm. So as far as implants and things, yeah, I have 3 plates in my arms, and I have got 7 plates in my face. So, and they're all in good shape right now. None of them are pushing out. They look like they're going to be pretty permanent. So, yeah.
I think the most important thing to take away here at this moment is the fact that you're still with us, that you're living and breathing, the fact that you're moving around, the fact that you're, you know, in terms of this, like, you know, walking and even kicking, still training. Wow. I think that's just a true testament of like who you are as a person. And, it just goes to show that your will is basically stronger than any superpower in the world.
Yes. So about the superpower stuff, there's been ongoing jokes about me being a cyborg, like especially with Halloween being like just over my shoulder, right?
Right.
There was definitely like a thing where like everybody's like, so are you going to be like a robot for Halloween, or are you going to be Wolverine? That would be really cool if you were like a female Wolverine. And I was like, I don't know. I'm just going to probably be a skeleton or something. It'll be all right. At least my bones will all be whole if I'm a skeleton and put on a skeleton. Like I joke.
Or you could say like, hey, I'm just going to be like the Terminator.
Yeah. So there was an ongoing joke. I said for next year, I think I'm going to be, like T2. I'm going to show up and be a Terminator. And they were like,
nice.
Oh, please don't do that. So, but yeah, bringing up about Halloween stuff, this year being Deadpool.
Yeah, I saw that. Explain that.
Yes. So I had posted on social media some kick pics and being in front of the crew that came for the Halloween party at the karate school. And, when we were organizing it, like we do games and food and a movie and popcorn and stuff. And it's one of the few times that I allow there to be a mess of that caliber at our school. Usually we have it outdoor, but it was raining, so we had it indoor. Mm-hmm. And when we were planning for it, one of my students who was helping with the movie and the projection screen and everything, he trains and his son trains, and they're like they're nearing black belt. They've been around for a few years, mm-hmm. And him and his son are standing in my office. His son's like 10 or 11 years old, and dad's standing there at my desk, son is standing there, and he goes, oh, well, Master Lindsay, what are you going to be for Halloween for the party? And I was like, I don't know. I was thinking about just being a skeleton or something simple. Maybe I'll be Beatrix Kiddo or something from Kill Bill, or, I just, me, like, I'm just, I know. I just go into martial art brain, and I was like, I don't know. And he just goes, well, and he proceeds to go off on this tangent. And I got to admit, like, my face went through a circus because it was like, I'm sorry, what did he just say? So he goes, I think you should be Deadpool. And he looks at me and he looks over at his son, and his son's like a lot shorter than he is. And he's like, about this, son. And he's like, Deadpool and Master Lindsay have a lot in common. They both died. And I'm like, where is this going? And they both died, And then they both got brought back to life. They got put back together. They're both really good at martial art. They're both really sarcastic and funny and inappropriate at times with what they say and do. And sometimes, apart from her being good at fighting, she's not really a hero, and she's not really a villain, but we'll call her an anti-hero. And that's why her and Deadpool are about the same. And the boy like looks up at his dad, and he's like, all right, Dad, thanks. And like the two of them, like their heads like both turned and looked at me right away. And I was like, I had my jaw dropped down. I was like, oh, I can't believe what he just said.
Wow.
So I couldn't help it. So I ended up picking Deadpool for my costume for the Halloween party for the karate school. So
now I have to ask, now that you aired out that dirty laundry there, as we say in the business, what did everybody in C.S. Kim, like, what did they all think of your Deadpool costume? Were they laughing about it, or they said that that was cool?
Mostly they were like, it fits. It fits your personality. Each of the different branch schools in Pittsburgh, they don't always do different parties and stuff. Some of them do birthday parties. Some of them do like a Christmas party, or they have Santa come to the school. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mine's really like, it's Halloween. Like I'm the one that has the Halloween party. But every year that I do a costume, like I was Punisher one year. I was an old cat lady the one year. I was like I know, it was like, I know none of the students knew it was me. I was Mr. Miyagi one year. I had painted my face makeup so well that people didn't know it was me.
How did you get the Mr. Miyagi goatee? Like, how did that work?
I went out and bought adhesive beard and mustache, and I cut it to match him, and I colored it in a way that it looked grayed out just the way he had it in the show, and whole outfit down to like the khaki with like I'm gonna like prune flowers and stuff like.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
wow,
I Miss Miyagi one year, yeah, and it was Wonder Woman one year.
I saw that.
I mean, like each year I try to pick something fun, and this year I took note from a student of mine saying she's like Deadpool, son. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome. Well, this is the part of the portion of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience where I like to do a fun activity with my guests, and it's called the Rapid Fire. So I'm going to ask a bunch of random questions, and you're just going to do your best to answer it. I mean, it could be serious. It could be fantasy, true, false, multiple choice, blah, 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 blah.
All right.
So that being said, Master Elizabeth Lindsay, are you ready for that rapid fire challenge?
I am ready. Yes, sir. Let's go ahead.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, she's entering that ring right now. She's ready to go. I mean, it's about to go down. It's about to go down.
Let's go.
Let's do it. So, ladies and gentlemen, rapid fire challenge is engaged. So here we go. Between the primary colors of yellow, red, and blue, my favorite primary color is
red.
Okay. Favorite car?
Ooh. This has been asked me a lot lately because everybody's wondering if I'm going to buy a car with, funds. I would say a 68 Chevy Camaro SS. Yeah.
I always thought of you as a Mustang woman.
That's my brother. That's his thing. I let him do that. But I've always had like a little inkling of like, I want that Chevy Camaro SS. I like it. I love it. It's got that spank. So,
all right.
Yeah, my dad's been looking into it. And he's been shuffling ideas over me and getting different places for me to look at it. But yeah, that's might be on the menu. But for right now, I just stick with playful cars that maybe I would want to play with, like a WRX or those Chevy Corolla sport ones. They're so fun.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm sorry, the Toyota Corolla.
Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, I'm sorry, and it's like a 300 horsepower. It's a little bit of a little spanker. It's like you don't expect it, but it's fun. It's a fun little go-kart, if you will.
Yeah. When it comes to vehicles, are you an automatic or a manual woman?
Manual.
I can't drive manual to save my life.
Oh no!
Like, I mean, hey, get me on a PlayStation 5 and Grand Theft Auto. I can do it, because that's all like R2 and L2. Right. But when I look at that thing, because true story, I was playing a game over at a local Dave and Buster's. Mm-hmm. And there's a racing game where you can try to drive it as like automatic or manual. I was like, let me try manual, because how hard can this stuff be? And soon enough, like I couldn't even start the car to save my life. I'm still stuck in there, and all the cars are going, and I'm like, is this game broken? No, you gotta put it out of first gear. How do I do that?
Aw. I grew up in a motorhead family, so we all had like a rule that we grew up with. If like you couldn't drive a stick shift, you weren't going to drive a car.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because back in the day, it was like you didn't it was always like, well, if a car broke down, or if like your friend was stuck, or you needed to learn how to push start a car just in case. And it was like, okay, so we all learned on a stick shift in my family.
Okay. Favorite motorcycle?
Oh, okay. I'm sort of super hung up right now. I'm really enjoying. I have a BMW R9T. It's a 1200. It's a boxer engine. It is such a wonderful bike. It is smooth. It is powerful. It is sporty. It's flickable. It's upright. It's good looking. And actually the one that I have, I am going to go ahead and toot my little horn. They're of that year, that model, there are only 4 in the United States with that color and everything.
Mhm.
And mine is the only one that's factory lowered. So mine's like a one of a kind in the United States. So.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And it's funny, when I was near DC, I actually saw one of the other 4. And I was
Wow.
like, what are the chances of me seeing that?
Right.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was pretty jazzed about seeing. So I've seen 50% of the ones that are in the United States.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can dig it. Let's see. Favorite movie?
Oh, you know what? I have been so pulled away from movies in the last year, except I can't help but make myself do it. I am such a Star Wars nerd. I know. And like,
I love you already. Like, dude, that you like
Star Wars.
you can break rice with me any day of the week. You're in.
Sir. Yes,
You
sir.
are in.
Yes. Over a bowl of pho, I will have Star Wars.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah.
But Andor being this newer series through Star Wars and everything, hands down, like, I'm not even talking Star Wars, but like shows.
Mhm.
Probably one of the best shows ever made. It is hands down. If you haven't seen Andor, y'all got to go check it out. It's pretty darn good. It's very, and you don't have to be a Star Wars nerd to enjoy a rebellion and freedom and family ties and growth with work. Kind of, that's a little scary, but sort of how rebellion begins, how it works, how it festers, how it's imbalanced and it's unstructured and it's combative. And honestly, rewatching Star Wars stuff always makes me so, everybody's like, oh, the Force and oh, this lightsabers. And I'm like, no, freedom, rebellion, and making those things happen from the little things that you do. You don't have to be the Star Wars Jedi to be the one making things happen. And I think that's why I really enjoy Star Wars. As a kid, it was one way.
Mm-hmm.
And as I started making these shows, honestly, when I first started watching Andor, I thought they ruined it. I thought they ruined Star Wars for me. I'm like, this is getting a little too adulty for me. I don't like what's happening. I didn't like that there was almost a rape scene. There was like a drunk scene. There was like a angry, obsessive, compulsive couple having a fight. And it was like, oh my gosh, I don't like anything that's happening in this show. Disney better fix this. Like,
right.
but they did. And honestly, it was Gilroy made one of the best series I've ever seen in my life. And it's unrelated to Star Wars. It was just the show and the premise of rebellion and freedom and what that feels like and what it means and how freedom can be chaotic, but when you can finally work together, it really shows,
right on.
It can be. So yeah,
nice.
Star Wars. That's my answer.
There you go.
Yeah.
I respect that. A good amount, I can't say all my shirts, but a good percentages of my shirts that I have in my collection, t-shirt wise, I got some Star Wars in there, so, the most recent one I got from Amazon Prime was, it was a Star Wars shirt and it was all in Japanese. And I was like, dude, I want that. Yeah. And I had to get it because it looked cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So
if we're going to go off on the Japanese thing with Star Wars stuff, if you ever get a chance, you got to Google sound clips or like scenes of the Japanese translation of Darth Vader. Oh my gosh. I swear it's like even more like, oh, that is rough what he just said. And it's like, I know what he said, but man, hearing it in Japanese was like, ooh.
Sugoi.
If you get a chance,
I definitely will. I got it.
That's a nerdy thing. It doesn't need to happen.
Hey, again, we're good. We're good. Let's see. Let's continue on. Spotify or Apple Music?
Apple Music.
Ooh, which goes into the next thing. iPhone or Android?
I have iPhone.
Oh God, I love you. You're awesome. You are awesome. Team iPhone all the way. As you can see, yes. God bless it. The greatest phone of them all. Sorry to my friends that are Android, owners, but
yeah, I'm already robotic enough. I don't need any more Android in me. I'm good.
yeah, I just, I mean, come on now. Like y'all might say that Android actually invented the wheel. Apple made it that much better, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's my opinion. Favorite martial art company?
Oh,
like I'm a Century Martial Arts guy.
yeah. I was gonna say they're the most organized and habitual with how they do their sales, and they're American based. So like, in Oklahoma, and they've got their thing going. But, I've worked with many other companies, AWMA, Dynamics, Bear Brand, Quan, things like that. There's different ones, but and I only just recently learned that I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who owns Bear Brand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're going to shut down their company or how it's working, but he's not in good health from what I know. So there was some issue there, and the head instructors and I were talking about if everything was okay with him, and we want to make sure he's okay. So I don't know what the case is, but we sometimes get heavyweight uniforms from Bear Brand, and
yeah,
I think that Master Kim was feeling a little, him being in his 80s, like he's watched enough people who are younger than him even pass away, and it's hard for him.
Yeah.
So we're just looking at it from the bigger position of things of like, is he okay? Is his family going to be okay?
Right.
But yeah, no, I would say the most balanced for me is Century, because it's got a hugely diverse set of things, and I can always find it.
Right on. I can dig it. Favorite tournament that you ever competed in, not the CS Kim tournament in Pittsburgh?
A very contrasting tournament that we are personally invited to. It's not an open tournament. Is Master Wasim Ketchen. He's in Buffalo, New York. He has schools there, Ketchen Martial Art. They hold a tournament that we're going to this weekend.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, and it will be maybe, we'll see when I get there. Might be my first time competing again since the wreck.
Oh, wow.
So, we'll see. We'll see when I get there. But Master Ketchen's tournament is, and I think it's named after his brother who passed away. I think it's Camille Ketchen tournament. And it's mostly like their organization's biggest tournament. And it's held in Niagara Falls. And what I like is that it's at a place that is like a sightseeing hub. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that it's on a country's border. So if like you wanted to go into Canada, you wanted to go on the other side of the border, you could if you wanted.
Right.
And I like some things about their tournament that is different than I see at other tournaments. It is a plus and a negative kind of all at the same time. They have their tournament hyper organized, which I like, being somebody who's really obsessive, compulsive. They have like each ring is scheduled with an exact time for an exact rank and division. Mm-hmm. Each ring. And then once that ring is done, they're done. And it's like, some tournaments are like that. And other tournaments, it's like, if you're old school and you're, doing these like we said, OG tournaments, these old school tournaments, it pretty much starts and things file throughout the day. Even if you're really organized, like our tournament is very organized, but like it's still going to go with the pace of the day. Whereas Master Ketchen's tournament doesn't. So like the plus side is like, exactly when and exactly where. But because of that, and people are done, they just go away and the room is empty.
Right.
But it's a big open room and it's nice and it's, it's clean, it's empty. But at the same time, it takes away the rush of like everybody is there together. Mm. And so it's like, I would say that is that's probably my favorite tournament because it is different than ours. So like in finals, there's maybe only like 45 people standing around and that's it. But throughout the day, hundreds of coming on. Where at our tournament, there's usually 100 to maybe 300 people still hanging out at finals because their ring was going as it was going. So I like the organization, but I like the togetherness. And so there's like a little bit of like an imbalance, but in a good way. So it's like, I like that because it's different than our tournament in good ways, but also it's missing what we have at our tournament too. So I like it, but it's maybe because it is different. That's why I like it.
For sure. Obviously you competed in a lot of martial art tournaments in your career, but can you name one female competitor and one male competitor specifically in the black belt division that you looked at and said, wow, they got it. They got what it's going on.
As I mentioned before, in years past, somebody I competed with in the women's division was Olivia Sun.
Mm-hmm.
I still very much look back on that. Now, whether she knows it or not, it's a whole other story, but that was a turning point in my own progress. It was letting go of the stop comparing to this person, just do you. So I would say her. And then for men, I'm going to go off a little different tangent. I like watching Master Derek So.
Okay.
For sparring. He was always somebody who I competed with forms up until a certain point where he like took over like managing the school and being a coach and being a teacher.
Yeah.
So that shifted instead of being a competitor, it was more of a shift to coach. But there were so many times where like when I watch him spar, I'm like, man, he's just so creative. Oh, he's into it. Oh, I like how he's adding things together, and he's still a traditional person, but he's also going into that sport mode. And it goes hand in hand with like, which tournament do you think is like the coolest one other than ours? Is like, because it is different, but it has the foundations. So I liked that Master Derek So was So's Taekwondo in Pennsylvania, that he was tall. He's super tall.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I liked that he was very traditional. And he had good foundations with his grandmother, always being so on top of him about his attitude and things. I loved watching her be influencing him. And I loved that he was also sporty. And it was like, oh, interesting. You can kind of be both. And so like it's right up there with the balance. I like the balancing.
Right on. What are your thoughts on martial arts tricking? Good thing or bad thing?
It'll go back to what we talked about way earlier in our conversation about when my mother looked for karate schools. Mm-hmm. And this is the real school that I want you to go to versus now I don't mind. Sure. Do a martial art that does tricking. I'm never going to be like, how dare you? But that's not what I do. That's not what I'm learning. That's not what I'm teaching. That's not what I've been shown. I like the discipline. I like the relationship I have with the martial art that I'm doing. So is it cool to see people tricking? Sure. But that will be at a different type of tournament. It would be at a different type of event. Is it challenging? I am sure it is. Do I do it? No. I've been told of our organization that I'm one of the trickier kickers because I do 360 kicks, or I do jump 360 kicks, or I just jump in general. Mm-hmm. But no, tricking forms and stuff, yeah, they're challenging, and it's good for people to challenge themselves. So I will not degrade or say like, no, that's terrible. Like I've heard people like go off about like they have degraded all of martial art, and it's like, no, not really. It's just a different martial art. It's a different way.
What do you think the stereotype is about being a martial arts or being in the martial arts, whether if it's karate, kung fu, or any of that sort? What do you think that there's like a what kind of stereotype do you think that people face?
I don't know. I honestly don't know what stereotypes other people face. I'm gonna joke with you. I even said this in class last night. I was like, part of our guidance policy, really, I don't want to say policy, but our guidance with this martial art is to protect what martial art you're doing.
Right.
And I said something like, if I tell somebody I do karate, they don't say, well, what style or who's your grandmaster?
Mm-hmm.
They always say, well, are you a black belt?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I told them last night was stereotypically, people think like, oh, you say you do karate? Well, you put on pajamas and a belt and you yell and kick and punch and that's about it. Like that one. And I said it to them. I'm like, yeah, that's stereotypically, like that's what people think. If you say I do karate, they're like, yeah, you put pajamas on, tie a belt, maybe it's black one, and then you yell. Like it's like, yeah, that's so it is important to protect our different styles and things. But I would say like that's a stereotype.
Okay. If there was another martial art that you would love to train in that you never trained in your life, that you don't even have a black belt in that, what martial art do you think that you would try to train in?
So people don't really know this, but at a time when I was not around a Tang Soo Do school at all, I trained in boxing. I trained kickboxing. I trained very little training, but in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a short time. I did judo for some time. Mm-hmm. And I actually did taekwondo. And these were at times when I wasn't near any of our styles schools. So I went where I could, and I wasn't an instructor at that time either. I really enjoyed judo. It was good to see, whether it was boxing, kickboxing, the jiu-jitsu, the judo. It became like apparent that, oh, wow, karate actually is a mixed martial art. Well, I'll be darned. Like, you don't realize it when you're doing it. You're like, no, it's kicking and punching. No, there's like some joint locking and stuff that we did in jiu-jitsu. That, you're on the ground and you're doing this with their wrist, or you're doing this with their shoulder. You got your arm a certain way and you're pulling, and it's like, well, we do that standing up. Or like you go to do a takedown, like you've impacted, you've grabbed, and then you do a takedown. And it's like, yeah, we do that in judo. But the funny part is, if I go to judo and I say, can you kick? They're like, nope. If I go to jiu-jitsu and I say, oh, can you do punching and kicking and these bigger from upright big takedowns? And they're like, not really. And so what I learned, and then of course in boxing, it was like, oh yeah, we're going to punch. We're going to punch good. We're going to punch very stylistically, very efficiently. One little thing really good. And I say, oh, well, do you guys ever do like kicking or kneeing? And they're like, no. And I'm like, dang. So I really appreciated that karate really is a mixed martial art and that people don't give it the credit for it. Does it mean that it's really well-rounded and really well practiced in all of the parts? No. Depends on the instructor. Depends on their focus or what their curriculum is at each school. But karate really is it's a mixed martial art. It does all of the different, joints, takedowns, kicking, punching. It's got it all there. And then you ask the question of like, what would you do that you haven't done before? Well, now that you know that I've done other stuff, I honestly have always thought about kendo, like or judo, using kendo, or even like fencing, like just like stylistically, like fencing. I don't know. I used to think like, the things that we could learn from adding in like. And again, we have it in our style where we defend ourselves from somebody with a weapon, with a stick, with a crowbar, with a bat. We have that built in, with a knife, with a gun. Like we have it built in that you're defending yourself. Yep. But quite honestly, it'd be fun to learn how to attack with that stuff too. So, nice. Yeah. So I think like fencing. I think that would be really cool. And like, I'm at a point now with my arms where it's like, I could probably grab stuff again. I could start hitting, got some medical approval to start hitting a lot more. I had approved in July to start slowly adding impact back into training with my arms. And it is a tricky, painful thing. And today I'm feeling it. But yesterday and day before, I spent a lot of time hitting the heavy bag and hitting the speed bag for the first time since the wreck. So
yeah, I saw that. You had that on your Instagram where you're actually hitting the speed bag. Yes. It looked like you were getting into a good rhythm. So I was like, wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, I am really blessed with the fact that like I got to keep my personality. I got to keep my memories. I can feel and understand rhythm. I have so many habits that they're here. They're in my mind. They're in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
They're in my muscle memory. If there is such a real thing, a muscle memory, but like,
Yep.
So it's like transitioning back to doing things again. It feels like, wow, I'm really glad I got to keep that in my head. So going back to the speed bag was like, oh, okay. It just took me some time. Oh, well, today I wake up and I'm like, oh my gosh, my arms are so sore. But no, I enjoyed it very much.
Nice. We just got 4 more questions, and we'll start to wrap up because I want to respect your time. The fact that you came over to hang out with us and do this. I mean, already, again, this has been awesome. Let's see. Here we go. If the Power Rangers actually saw the Ninja Turtles on the street, who do you think's winning that fight?
Probably the Power Rangers. I mean, it's totally different. I know they're 2 very different things. One's got all these tech and big giant, robotic things and superpowers mixed in with their suits and stuff. And it's like, yeah, they'll probably win because the Ninja Turtles are just who they are. And so I was like, I know, my poor little dudes. Like, what am I going to do with these little green little dudes? I don't know what to tell you. Like, they probably would lose. But that's not, if the Power Rangers took off their helmets and their uniforms and weren't allowed to fight with their gears, I would say the Ninja Turtles.
Okay, that's fair. All right. Say that you actually got invited to an all expenses paid first class dinner, and you were able to bring 3 other people with you as your special guest. Who would you invite? Now, here's the tricky part. You can bring somebody that you know. You can bring somebody that you don't know. You could bring somebody that's famous. You can bring somebody that's non-famous. You could bring somebody that is living or someone that is deceased. Now, that being said, who are your 3 guests at dinner?
I mean, if we're talking just martial art based?
In general, doesn't have to be martial arts based.
I mean, if it was just martial art based, I would say I would like to have Master Kim. I would like to have Master Hoang, if he could come back to life and be here. Pick his brain on martial art. And then, like, why not go even further back? And like a lot of the Kong Sung forms, Kong Sung Kun. Let's have that originator come back. Let's have him there too. So, so you have like current, past, and further back. Like, why did you put this thing together? This shadow boxing thing. Why did you do that? It's such a thing that lasted so long in the history of martial art. Yeah. Now, if we're talking like, just whoever, I would say I would still have Master Kim there. I would probably have significant other, whoever's in my life. I would have probably my best friend there too. I would probably associate that kind of way where it's like the people, and what's crazy is that this past year, having my psychology is pretty much different now than it was before, but it's good. And my psychologist, she's like, you realize how really rare it is how quickly you healed mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I'm like, yeah. But I had such good foundation of having my family, having Master Kim, and having my best friends. And that was so validly important for that healthy growth. So I would project the same thing. Nice.
Out of the International Tang Soo Do Federation instructors, minus Grandmaster C.S. Kim, who were like, the instructors that you felt like, wow, they were such a great influence in my life. They helped me out in the art. They were the ones that I feel like are memorable to me in my life.
Absolutely Master Kim, absolutely Master John Tadero from whenever I first started. I have little slight memories of him. He's back around actually in the martial art community, so I'll be probably hanging out with him again soon too. Master Zach Szabo being pretty much my go-to instructor for almost 16, 17 years. He was my instructor. I would say that all of the head instructor school owners of CS Kim Karate, in their own ways, are all been great influence, brothers, if you will. But there are some others that were very close with me that kept in touch with me during this process of healing and everything. But more immediately around me, I have Master Chris Cross, Master Tun Tran, Master Chris Markle. Those three really helped. I shouldn't even say helped. They worked very diligently together to maintain my school and keep it the way that they saw that I was keeping it myself. For 7 months. My school ran without me there. And so those three, very, very much I hold in high regard, and I'm so humbled by them all the time. I would say there are a few when I was younger, and still some of them today, but Master Stacy Banda, she was a female that I could look up to as a kid. Master Robin Bear was there. Karen Eden was around. She was in my dojo where I grew up. Those women influenced in such a huge way. Rita Palmer, Marion Greger, huge respect for Marion Greger. She passed away, and I have one of her belts in my office today because it's like I don't think people realize, like, she was like one of the first female practitioners in Tang Soo Do that was like winning grand championships for forms, and she had gotten ridiculed, and the referee and judge committee went and interrupted her teaching class and said, "Do your form again," after the tournament was over, like the next week, because they want to make sure that she wasn't just like a fluke. She was confident, adamant, and athletic, and assertive, and she was a good teacher. She was a good woman. And I was really proud to have her in my life. She was a good guide. So you have that female crew of women who were a big influence. And then, like I said, the certain gentlemen who maintained some really wonderful things. And then, of course, people who are around all the time. But, within our organization, there are other masters, technical advisory committee crew. Yeah. All the CS Kim Karate school owners, past and present, that I worked with, and all the technical advisory committee members that I've worked with, past and present. All of them, they're like brothers. But I would say this handful of names mentioned, really important people to what formed me in this Tang Soo Do within our organization. Nice.
And I guess the most important one, last question, is when it's all said and done, and and you're about to ride into the sunset, as they would say, what kind of legacy do you want to leave out into the world? When people look at you and say, Elizabeth Lindsay, what fill in the blank? Like, what would you want people to know about you and your legacy?
That's definitely been something on my mind, having been so close to dying myself. I think it's important to think for myself, like, if I were to leave something behind, I don't have kids. At this point, with the amount of trauma that my body's been through, I'm probably not going to have kids. So leaving behind, it's what do I leave from my experience with other people? What can I leave in being a teacher to people? I would really hope that my guidance and my silliness and my personality, my energy would give people the excitement for taking something simple and making it an adventure. And no matter what it is. And I relate that to out of karate land too. Like, the importance of small things and how big they can really be if you have the attitude for it.
Nice. Well, we just have two more things. Number one, I have a friend of mine that follows you a lot, on social media. Her name is Chrissy. She's from the Netherlands. She trains in Tang Soo Do and is a 3rd-degree black belt that will be soon enough be testing for her 4th-degree black belt. So she doesn't know them doing this. And Chrissy, I'm sorry, had to do it. But could you please give her a cool shout out to her? Because I know that would mean the world to her.
Chrissy, what's the last name?
Chrissy Stilianova.
Oh, well, hello, Chrissy and Tang Soo. Because I gotta tell you what, I know I try to get around to everybody who connects up with me on social media and everything. But I have seen you on there. I've seen and probably responded to you to something or message at some point. But I really hope that you keep training, keep your chin up. And also chin down a little bit when you're sparring, but yeah, but yeah, definitely have a good time. Keep training and keep leveling up with yourself. Don't worry about comparing with everybody else. Just do you. Make a little record of where you are today, and keep going. Let's do this.
Solid. This is the point of the podcast where I let my guests do whatever they want to do, whether if they want to, give a shout out to people, if they want to promote themselves in terms of in this case, your school and your school's social media or your social media. If you want to announce a couple of things that you got going on, or if you want to leave some pearls of wisdom, being a woman of your position. So I'm going to leave the floor up to you. You do whatever it is that you want, and we'll just wrap it up from there.
Well, sure. I don't really have a lot to say. I already feel like I talked quite a bit, talked your ear off. But for the rest of you, just if there's anything I knew it before the wreck, and now it's even more important after the wreck, is that you have to remind yourself that you don't control everything. You have this wonderful thing that sometimes you don't realize, but the only thing you can control is yourself. And that speaks volumes from many different parts of our lives. You don't control anybody's attitude, anybody's reactions. You don't control what happens around you all the time, but you control what you feel and what you do and what you say and how you think. You only can control yourself. And that is such an ongoing valid thing that I remind myself about. So I don't control everything, neither do you. That's about it.
That's deep. That's really deep. I mean, again, just being with you for the this moment and during this time, I've never really met you before, but being that we hung out, we've had this discussion, that you were in my podcast, I feel like I know you a little bit more better now than I did before.
Yes.
And I think it's really cool that, as much as serious and dedicated you are as a woman of martial arts and being a master in Tang Soo Do, it's also cool to know that you have a cool, funny, hilarious, very jovial side. And I think
I'm just me.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people need to have that in their lives and just be like, look, yes, even though I am a serious martial artist, doesn't mean I don't have a fun side to me. It's just I know, when I can use it and how to emphasize it when it's the right time to do so. So, and the fact again, going through death's door and literally staring death in the face, slapping him in the face and walking out the other side of the door and making it, in my eyes, that to me means more than any grand championship that you ever won. And I got to give you my absolute respect for that, because like you said, and like a lot of people said before, when people face that type of situation, not many people come back from the other side. And you just said, oh no, to hell with that. I'm kicking my way back to freedom.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you. Appreciate you making time for this. And Hopefully it can reach out to others who are going through whatever they're going through in their life, that they can handle it. I mean, your worst day happened and you're still here.
Yeah.
So I remind myself, like, again, what can you control? What can I do? Keep your logic there, feel your emotions, but do what you can, and don't sit back and wait for everything to happen for you. It doesn't work like that. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate the discipline of martial art, keeping me here and moving me forward. So thank you so much for having me on the show, and I hope it touches some of you who are listening.
Amen to that. Tang Soo, man. Much love and respect to you as always.
Yes, sir. Tang Soo.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's about to wrap it up. Let me go ahead and get this going because according to my Apple Watch, we may not have a lot of time. Follow your boy on Facebook and search under the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. I am there. I am also on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram under our tag name, TKHPC Experience, all in one word. Follow us and we will follow you back. We are on 6 podcasting platforms, ladies and gentlemen: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. We are on Audible, and we are also on iHeartRadio. Please like and subscribe to us on all of those aforementioned podcasts. And do us a favor. If you have Spotify, please give us a 5-star ranking. If you have Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star ranking and a positive written review, because the more times that you do that, then our podcast will be thrown in the front of the line. People will notice it, and we definitely would appreciate the following and so forth. Now then, that being said, if you want to be a guest on my podcast, if you want to be a special guest host, if you have any constructive criticism or anything on our Q&A form when I do my solo episode, please email me, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it on the subject line. In the body of the email, write out whatever you want and then send it out. I will get it and I will answer back within a day or two. I do promise you, and last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, please spread the word about our podcast, whether if it is on social media, we have a whole bunch of them, or if you want to spread it out in person, like your friend or a family member or a colleague or something, because sharing is caring. And in the business, we call that brand awareness. Last but not least, and I think the most important thing, guys, is that, please be safe out there and do the good things in life and the safe things in life, because life is too short to be put in a pine box and get buried 6 feet under. We don't want you to go through all that, and we don't want you to face that, because we believe in you. We think that you can succeed. We think that you can do anything that you want in this world. And if anybody else that's negative in your life that says that you can't, for all intents and purposes, in the form of martial arts, just go ahead and hit them with a reverse punch and start running out the door. That's simple. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I got to get on out of here. Again, want to say thank you to my special guest, Master Elizabeth Lindsay, who's doing her thing in the martial arts with Tang Soo Do and being a great ambassador of the martial arts. If it wasn't for, people like her, we wouldn't have a great foundation where we stand today. And that's facts, pure facts. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, because you know what it is. It's done. It's over. So for the one time here over at the Prototype Studio in Wheaton, Maryland, this is your boy, Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation. I am the host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that can bring the power within the hour, and the dude with the right attitude, saying, thank you, arigato, I love you very much. Please be safe out there. And we're going to do it again real soon, faster than you know it. Take care, guys. It's been real, and we are done. Deuces, I'm out. Peace.